Welcome back to Conversations Catapults, the #1 after show for the #1 D&D podcast. I'm your host, Nathan, and today I am joined by a bunch of pebbles with souls in them. Go ahead and introduce yourselves, pebbles with souls in them.
Hi, I am Pebble #1, and I hold the soul of Ben, who plays the level 7 gnome wizard, Windsor Wallaby, on the hit #1 podcast, Trials of Trebuchets.
Hi, I'm a cereal. My name is Carla. Because pebbles
Are you
are
Fruity Pebbles? I hate it. I hate it.
Like Fruity or Cocoa Pebbles.
Yeah.
Stop.
Like that wonderful Post cereal.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Hey.
Unfortunately, we can't mention them
I'm
because that would
sorry.
be a copyright concern.
Okay, I'll just be
They're
a pebble.
very litigious cavemen.
Normal pebble that you find by the water. It's Carla, who plays the level 7 tiefling roguelike Integrity Addleberry from the hit podcast Trials and Trebuchets.
And
Hi.
my name is Sam, and I come in the form of a skipping stone pebble, perfect to fly off onto a lake surface. And I play the level 7 human sorceress, Sereneth Cinderman.
And unfortunately, Sarah was unable to join us this evening. But
to vacuum.
don't worry.
The Doomba!
The Doomba.
There's a loud noise next door to her, which does not make for great podcasting. It's not important. All that's important is that we have the... I don't have a good trio name for y'all. Wiz? Nope, that's Piss. And
Swizz?
Sam is gone.
I don't want to be called Wiz.
Don't.
Or Wiz.
Yeah, no. WIS.
For
is,
wisdom.
What is that? Yeah, it's for wisdom. Well, the important thing is that I am joined with 3 great friends, and we're about to talk about 2 great episodes. First off, I wanted to talk to y'all about what went on in episode 124, which was essentially just traveling around and then a fun puzzle. Naturally, your crew has faced a lot of different puzzles in your time. There was elevator, there was door, there was the infamous it does not budge.
There's another door.
Yeah, Cody, listen. And what was this one? Well, it wasn't quite a door, but it was very close.
It was door
a
adjacent.
hidden doorway.
Yeah, it was a passage. Which, what is a door but a very short passage? Podcast title, Luke. A very short passage. Maybe, no, too long. We'll workshop it. Anywho, but I wanted to ask, when you come to these puzzles, behind the scenes, I already talked with Luke about this episode, and he wanted to use this puzzle as kind of a transitory space, that both reflected where y'all are in your story and also continuing on to the next leg of the adventure. I wanted to ask, when you face puzzles like this, are you looking just for a solution? Or are you just trying to figure out, oh, is this set dressing? What does this tell us about the school? Or is it just, I'm a D&D player and this is a puzzle. I solved this. I'm sorry for the very broad question. I just wanted to give you all a lot to jump off of.
I definitely, at first, I didn't view it as a puzzle, because it felt still more of an exploratory type deal. Because when we ended up getting down there was some other stuff that was seemed separate from the puzzle. The whole zooming in on the drain with the weird ring and the water disappearing. And you could see at the very bottom almost 70 feet below. I wasn't too focused on the puzzle because I was more focused on what that was and sort of where are we?
If I can just add on to that, literally the exact same thing. Luke puts so much focus onto that, the glowing ring of light down below us. And honestly, if he hadn't have said that there's no way for you guys to really fit through these grates, but you see the scratch marks, my brain would have been okay, we have to get down there somehow.
Yeah, I would have.
So I'm glad I got redirected into, okay, we have to find a way to get out of the room. Escape room activated.
Yeah, I would have thought the exact same thing. I didn't expect that the solution of the puzzle was to bypass the water and go through a corridor. That wasn't my first thought. At all.
Yeah.
No.
I thought that we had to push a wall or something to get out.
I will say the second I don't know, I don't want to sound like I'm bragging, but I find that I do really well in, here's the situation you are in. try and find out what the solution is. And I'm just like, oh, I need to put all of my energy into this now.
It's very funny because I feel like that also comes across with like Serenep as a character is also very like solution oriented in terms of like coming into contact with anything. So I think that comes across very clearly, and you are incredible at it, just judging by like how Luke has talked about you predicting literally everything that happens in those stories that he creates.
I joke about it, but it happens often.
Well, excellent. Was it fun? Like, or I personally, as a player, find puzzles to be an incredibly frustrating thing, especially if I can't figure them out right away. So, like, is like that dash of exploration make it more fun for you all? Or, is it more of just like, it sucks either way?
I suck at puzzles. Like, the entire time I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do here. I guess I'll just, like, try to push walls. I was thinking of pushing a wall. I was thinking of drilling a hole on the floor.
Using that tool that you all have, a drill.
I am the kind of person who just likes going through things with brute force. Okay? So I did not think that, I needed to use my brain for this.
Integrity, the character who kicks down doors to an office, is the one who wants to solve things through brute force? What? No. What?
I don't like thinking. I just like getting the thing.
Me no
really helps,
thing.
Honestly,
that's a tagline for this whole
the
show.
Dynamic, though.
It rules. Because you need that decisive action when actually going into a puzzle. And also, when making a show, it is far more interesting to have you, like, try something hard and then fall flat on your face.
Yes.
Than just sit there and, like, be, have analysis paralysis, as it were.
Yeah. But once we realized, I think that once we realized that it's a puzzle, it's very interesting. I enjoy it very much. Obviously, there's like thought in there, and I think it's just like my way, like the type of person that I am, where I am horrible at solving things. I'm so bad at riddles. I'm so bad at like those kind of things. So, having people like playing with people who has a brain is like quite great. I enjoy that.
Well, that's the nicest compliment I think the whole cast has ever been given.
We're smart, everybody. We promise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I think that you are very intelligent, and the intelligence that comes through in Dungeons & Dragons is a very different kind than I think we see in the actual real world.
Yeah.
But, well, excellent. Thank you all for elaborating on that a little bit. Now, I wanted to also talk to you about... Luke didn't give me a name, so I'm just going to refer to it as the Pebble Demon.
Oh, that
yeah. Wow. That
piece of shit.
I've never seen like a character who is the most, it's on site than y'all were with the Pebble Demon. It was honestly amazing.
He hurt our dad.
I mean, I don't know if we could have gone it any other way. We've gotten far past the point of being civil and trying to like find common ground. We were just getting pushed around so often at every turn. There was only one solution. We have to fucking get our like rage out. We have to do something.
How were you not like? I guess it makes sense considering like y'all didn't know that this motherfucker had like a 7th level spell.
Yes.
Like
No.
ready to go. But like even then y'all like were tapped in terms, or actually I don't know how tapped you were in terms of like spell slots and hit points and resources that you had used, but you hadn't had a long rest since
I had
everything in Isthville.
Yeah, I was exhausted.
Yeah.
I did not have any more spell slots after the memory conjuration. So the entire time I was relying on cantrips because I cannot use any spells.
Right.
Fuck yeah, Eldritch Blast rules.
Well, except I realized that I could have actually used Hellish Rebuke, but you know.
Hey, if anyone wants to like write in to let us know like anytime the players have messed up a rule thing, please don't.
Rules are made for breaking.
Please don't.
Yeah,
Please remember that these are people learning about magic.
Also, hey, straight up, it's not fun to correct people. Like, no one likes being corrected by strangers. It sucks. Anywho, But talking about the Pebble Demon, how were you all like not scared after, you're drained of your shit, right? Like you're exhausted. So did that anger really outweigh your fear that much? Like if it was anyone coming down that passageway, like if it was another kid who was like, give me your fucking lunch money, do you think you would have done the same?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We would have bullied the hell out of them.
Wait a sec. Okay, I want to just say that we did have a moment where we just bumped into a kid and we were nice to her.
But let's say the kid was a little bit antagonistic.
Yeah,
Let's say Vanya came out of the wardrobe with like a shiv and like just stabbed Winslow real quick and was like, I'm so sorry. Do you think it would have gone to a, we forgive you? Or do you think it would have been, no, you stabbed our friend?
Yeah, it's like she was genuinely like being like kind, and she was kind of scared too. So like we had no reason to have like show any like hostility towards her. But
Yeah,
this fucking old crusty demon with the eyeball hands, no.
He's crusty?
I mean, he's been living in the walls for who knows how long. He's like gross.
I like punishing people because they are trying to go beyond their means. And I'm just like, so you turn people into pebbles?
Like, you're so fucking
That's how it
gross.
goes.
How are you still here in this school?
Yeah.
The universe demands an equalizer. Yeah, but pebbles?
Like, go away.
Dude,
Oh my. Yeah, honestly.
stop throwing stones. It's weird.
You literally have such a cool aesthetic by being a fire demon, and then you turn it into being a pebble demon.
Yeah.
Like, straight up,
Boo.
the worst PR.
I mean, we always knew, like, the pebbles
I
were
was kinda confused
their, like,
about that.
shtick, and we knew they wanted to burn stuff, but I didn't know that was, like, their main thing was, like, soul pebbles.
Yeah. Speaking of them wanting to burn stuff, what would it have taken, like, what would they have had to offer or threaten your character to make them, let's say, burn down a tower of the school or, like, some other office? Is there anything that they could offer you?
Give
Or
Artis
threaten?
back his body.
Really? Serenep would do that?
The whole reason I went into she went into battle mode was because she learned this thing cannot put Artis back into his body. They are of no use now. I'm going to fight them.
I love it when
They're angry.
I really love it when you have that Draco Malfoy like intention of the original Serenep just shine through in these areas of like, you're of no use to me, and like I'm not feeling friendly right now, so I will dispose of you. It really that's a Cinderman. That's just a natural Cinderman.
Oh yeah.
That was so bad.
I was so excited because like I did the threat and I was like, okay, let's like, and after we were done recording, I was talking to Luke. I sent a message. I was like, "Hey, I think another thing I kind of want to do I didn't know what was gonna happen. Or like in the in between time, I kind of want to get in contact with the Pebble and see if we can work out some kind of a negotiation." And then we went into the place, we went into the thing, and I saw the dude, and I was like, yes, my revenge has been brought forth to me. Let's destroy
There's
things."
some-
My favorite form of negotiation.
There's just some people and
yes.
creatures that you can't negotiate with.
I was willing to
I know.
negotiate.
I was
mind
also
you.
gonna like,
It was just-
let's try and negotiate.
exactly, but then he was like, "No, your dad's gonna stay a Pebble," and I'm like, "Okay, well now." you
Yeah,
have to
like
die."
your mentor and countless other people are in these stones. Also, we're in some freaky alternate, like who knows what's going on right now. We're in like
was-
a far
y'all didn't know
dustier
that.
hallway. We don't know
We're
what's
gonna
going
get
on.
to that.
That was so insane to me that like, because I guess the permanence of it, that we probably will never see Artis the way that he is.
Oh,
I think like
no.
I'm very stuck on
I'm
that where it's
hurting.
like, I guess we're never going to see a tall elf, like long-haired elf
No.
anymore.
It's going
Can
to
I be real about something? After we were done and everything, I had a whole moment where I realized his ribbon got burned
Oh
with his
no!
body, and I cried.
Oh, that's so sad.
I like actually cried, and then I woke up the next morning and I was like, I had an
That's
emotional
so
moment last
iconic.
night.
No.
And it makes it so much sadder if you like think of it as like a thing that Fadan gave him,
Oh.
which has always been like my headcanon.
Oh yeah,
Stop ripping our hearts
at this
out,
point, like
Nathan.
fan theory has come into the canon where I don't know what's fake or real anymore in like the past situation. So I'm like, that's Fadan's, and then I'm like, wait, we actually don't know that.
But it,
Why am I crying? Like, nah, this is a thing.
until it's
still.
disproven, I'm gonna believe that was at the very least Fadan gave him the first ribbon,
it's
because
gonna
we've seen
be
him use another one in Isithil.
It's gonna be so
But-
sad, like the potentiality of Fadan actually somehow coming back and never, and like Artis is so happy if we ever do find a way to like put him back in some sort of body. He's gonna be so happy, and then Fadan is just gonna be so confused and like dejected, and it's gonna break him.
No, see, it's gonna be a gift of the Magi situation, except they're not gonna be giving each other anything. They're gonna finally meet, but here's the downside. Artis is in a new body, and Fadan, skin stolen by Ferdinand, so now she is also looking like someone else.
Oh.
Our souls are still in love.
I thought you were going to say Fadan's in Artis's old body.
Oh my
somehow.
God.
Jesus.
I don't know how to explain. Like a Freaky Friday situation. Like, what happened?
Oh, Christ.
What if like Fadan comes back and then they're looking for Artis, and then we can give her the pebble, and then we can be like, okay, choose your.
Oh my God. These shitty school children just handed me my fucking husband to me on a silver platter in the form of a pebble.
Then again, if you guys are able to bring back Ferdinand, she might be someone to talk to in terms of getting a body. You know, like those skin suits and soul, like putting them over souls and shit.
That's assuming she wants anything to do with us after that.
True. Yeah. Damn.
I mean, what about Celty?
I don't really want to be.
Hey, you have his teeth, right? Because you took a bunch of his teeth for some.
I don't want to be any more in debt to Celty than I already have been, because that's already got us in the situation where we are now.
We wouldn't put you in debt anymore. It would just be someone else in the group.
But still, that's just another favor for her, and you know her favors, they're a little extreme.
It's
so many deaths.
It's like a favor but plus interest. Anywho, so the only thing that the Pebble Demon could have offered. Also, Luke, cut all of that previous conversation. That was nothing. I want us to do much better. No, I'm fine.
How dare you?
Thanks.
Cut that part, Luke. Anywho, so the Pebble Demon wouldn't be able to like offer you anything except for Artis's body back.
Or immortality.
Who would have to threaten to make you burn down a part of the school? Does Integrity have anyone like that? Would it be Sylvie?
Oh. Well, here's the thing. We found out that this demon's threats are just threats. Like with the Cindermans, like Seren's parents and the Wallabies. I guess like in my head, I was like, yeah, you're threatening a bunch of people, so I guess it's fine. But then you realize that they also have the power or the capability to actually rid of people. I might just to burn a building down that I really don't care about. Then I guess like I would do it for Sylvie or my family. If
what about Merendine?
We're friends, but you know, at least my debt will be
I'll
gone.
give him 20 gold of snacks.
Damn! Wow.
No, I don't think that's the same case for me, because I think the threats are definitely empty. I was onto that shit the very first time Windsor had that dream about like the house burning. He knows it's not real. So considering the fact that we also have this demon like backed into a corner and it's not really able to do anything, we're the ones in control here, so it has no right making threats or telling us what we should do in order to, I don't know, live or something, just so it gets what it wants. No, fuck that.
Yeah, when y'all got hit with napalm, with, you know, that 7th level firestorm, I was just like, they're the ones in control here. They've got this.
Okay. We were doing fine until that happened, and then
Y'all were doing...
And then I was fucking scared for my life, because I only have like 31 max hit points. If that did...
were
y'all are
rolling
all
so
squishy
well.
mages.
If that did anywhere above 62 damage, which it possibly could have, I would have died. That would have been toast.
That is
Damn.
terrifying.
I feel like we already know my answer to the question, honestly. Everyone already knows that if there was any hint of a threat towards Philip.
Ooh.
Oh, I thought it was going to be
Or-
the Lindmans.
Of
You gotta
course.
protect those class interests.
I guess I think like the number one person would be Philip, but like obviously if Angelica or Corinna were in danger, because she cares about her friends.
Absolutely. It's very interesting to see the links that Sereneth in particular will go into. Like, she definitely seems like the character who is the most I can't believe I'm saying this with Carla in the room, but like it seems that Sereneth would probably go the furthest links for her friends, which is a very awkward thing to say when Integrity is like, hell yeah, progenitor, load me up with warlock powers. I want some invocations now.
Oh yeah, give it.
Yeah, like when I think about like Sereneth having to go further than that, it's like, Could she? And the answer is yes. She
think
probably
so.
could.
Sereneth has killed before. She will kill again for her friend.
I definitely think that Sereneth is more strong-willed in that sense. Like, I feel like Integrity has a little bit more of a reservation when it comes to those kind of things. I definitely think Sereneth is braver than Integrity in a lot of ways.
Aw.
I think that's interesting.
Sereneth is the bravest of us all.
The Waffle House of people.
Everyone is always saying that about Sereneth.
Well, it's true.
Every day I log onto Twitter and I see a bunch of tweets just calling Sereneth the Waffle House of people. I'm like, yeah, that sounds about right.
People who haven't even listened to our podcast call her the Waffle House.
People who don't know who Sereneth Cinderman is call her the Waffle House of people, which is wild.
It must be the name.
I want that to be an entry on Urban Dictionary, please.
Oh God, someone's gonna do it now.
Yes. And then send me the link, please.
One last thing for y'all. I was also curious, does anyone have any like pet theories about what the fuck is going on in terms of y'all walking out of the under campus and then suddenly being in a different over campus?
Well, I mean, 100% when we went into the room with like the tiny mountain and the oil stuff on it, I feel like that is 100% where we shifted into a different like timeline. And then there was so much confusion at the end of that recording because I was like, wait, did we go back or not? Like,
I'm really pissed.
Like, what's the situation?
About how long I'm going to have to wait to find out what the actual situation is.
Yeah, I know there's something, but I have no idea what.
I thought that it was a time travel, but then because if it is the case that that it is a time travel to the future, and I think Sarah brought this up at the end of when we were like discussing and we're like, what the fuck is happening? That if it was a movement in time, it moved forward because of all the dust and all the ruins. So I was like, okay, but then that would not then be a shift forward because the building, like Wildcliff, is wooden. So then maybe in my head, it was like a different reality. So it might be just like a different plane. I know that we are in an auxiliary plane, so either another auxiliary plane that it sort of connected with, or
we're in the original.
It's the original plane.
Yeah.
Which I really like that idea.
That gets me thinking, because what if, I don't remember exactly what was said in the previous episodes, but didn't they mention something about making like they made an entirely new plane, but I wonder if they went into any specifics about creating that new plane. Because what if they just made sort of like a carbon copy of part of the plane and just put it somewhere else? So what if we're in that original Wildcliff?
Now, here's another like question in the same vein, which is when thinking about like the different possibilities here, what do you think would be the most fun to play through in this next arc?
Ooh.
Like, do you think it would be fun to do a future, or I'm going to throw this one out here, a potentially past Wildcliff, where you see, you might run into young artists, and that might solve the body problem.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we'll just take this artist and then, well, like, I have racked my brain on this. Because I think in the original discussion, it was like they created a new plane based off of the original, like a carbon copy kind of idea. And then they took people with them to the other place. So it's like, does our like family lines, like if I go around long enough, will I find another Cinderman? Or is it
true?
The Cindermans all went to the other plane. So it's like we're meeting whole new people who like didn't exist in our plane at all, kind of thing.
I love my family though.
What would be your favorite like possible future for this? Like, you know, we have no idea what's coming. What do you think would be the most fun to play through? Or do you just not have any expectations as far as that's concerned?
Literally, two worlds collide. Something happens where everything gets kind of pushed back into one plane, and then it's I don't know what would happen from there, honestly. I haven't thought that far ahead. But kind of the idea of like the copy and the original get pushed back together. So then there's like suddenly like buildings on top of buildings. And it's like, well, I again, I haven't thought that far into like how it would go back to being one plane. But like just like the idea of like, oh, maybe there's like creatures that we've never seen in our world, but they exist in the original, kind of like Noah in the Ark, and they took a bunch of animals, put them on a boat, and then they went away. And then in one world, the flood never happened. So there's all these other crazy animals that we never saw. Like,
Yeah,
You guys are going to the Wildcliff School for Druids.
Oh God.
This is where all the druids went.
oh hell yeah!
That's why
all
it's a
of them
wooden
are
building.
druids.
Oh
It's a wooden
no.
No one else.
We're probably in the wall, like where the Night's Watch are.
Uh-oh.
Sorry, Luke.
I don't get that reference.
This is a Game of Thrones reference.
You're not missing out.
I want to be surprised. I don't think that I have a specific like expectation on who we will meet.
You don't want to meet Amir Integrity?
Ooh.
No. I'm the main
Anarchy
character.
Applebottom.
Yes, Anarchy Applebottom. Canon at
Oh
last.
my gosh. I wonder what Anarchy Applebottom will look like. I wonder if they look exactly like I wonder, because you know how integrity is integrity, but then she's not great at exhibiting that integritious quality.
She doesn't show that
So
virtue.
I wonder if Anarchy is just like that person under the tree reading a book,
Oh,
you know,
God.
like not causing any ruckus or anything.
The anti-Sintra.
Oh boy.
Oh my gosh, I want that.
The song from Barbie's Princess and the Pauper starts playing in the background.
I definitely think it will be really fun to do the alternate, like, original plane shenanigans. But then with you mentioning the past stuff, I thought that would also be really cool. But it also makes me think about like the scenario if we do end up seeing a young artist. The problem of like explaining who we are, where we're from, the fact that we have an alternate older version of him in a rock that we want to force into his body. What will happen to that young artist's soul? Will it just be like ripped out and then thrown into like the void or something? I don't know.
If it told that person everything that we are on right now, like all of the, like there's a progenitor who's after us who wants to kill us, there's a snake after us who wants to kill us, like there's just a lot of things that want to kill us, so there is still that risk. So do you want to join us?
So sorry, we are exhausted. We just finished with an execution, and then we beat up a demon in a sewer, and now we're here with our mentor's body and or soul in a pebble. No body. Anyways, hi, we're your kids from 300 years in the future. It's nice to meet you.
Don't
Oh my
ask questions,
God.
it's fine.
Yeah, you gotta play to find out what happens.
This is you, holds out pebble in hand. It's like,
This is what's going to
just
happen
wrote
to
my
you.
name on a rock. This is no, you don't understand the gravity of this.
Oh my gosh, is
situation.
artist actually blonde?
Oh, I don't like the image of a blonde artist.
Yeah, blonde
I
artist.
don't know. It just doesn't. It just doesn't fit.
Wait, a tall, long-haired blonde person? Listen, you give Luke a ribbon, and we've just got a blonde artist right there.
Exactly.
I think
Oh my god.
Luke's plan this entire time was just to have like the perfect cosplay for
The perfect
when
excuse
lockdown
for
are
cosplay.
over.
So powerful. Well, excellent. Well, thank you so much for such a wonderfully fun discussion. Now, this is a possibility. You all can say no. I know that there is not much to this character. However, we can always play around of battleships.
Yes.
Ooh.
Concerning our new favorite NPC, the Pebble Demon.
Oh my god.
Let's start to
character
do
who-
this.
Is wild about envy, who wants to put humans back in their fucking place. Tell me, who's the perfect match for such an evil fiend?
If I'm being honest, who would want them?
Which is why we may not want to play battleships, you know? Like, we may not want to be saying...
Just literally a pile of gravel.
Oh yes, this lovely
Rock
pile
Jerry.
of rocks.
Oh, that's where he gets the
No.
pebbles.
That's where he gets.
He just has to chip a little way off of Rock Jerry.
No.
Okay, y'all, let's just do this. And my guess is Rock Jerry, and then you two don't guess, and then let me win, and let me get that point.
Oh, you just want to win now, don't you? It's all about the points for you, isn't it?
Oh, you know what, Carl? That is a fair point. We probably shouldn't play without Sarah here.
Oh yeah. That's right.
Oh.
Nah, I'm fucking around. No, it's
I'm kidding.
fine. It's literally fine. I
No.
think we've played a game without Sam here before, so we shouldn't. We have a precedent for still playing. That being said,
I want to keep
if
the
it's
zero
awkward,
threat.
I want to keep the perfect
oh,
zero.
you want to?
Oh.
It's like Fox in the Forest, where if you keep having a point that is 0 until the very end, then you get like basically a lot of points in the end.
What is this?
What?
Fox in the Forest. It's
What's
like
what
a
is
card
Fox
that?
in the
game.
Forest? I haven't heard of that.
Oh.
It is a very good game for 2 people. Where there's cute fox pictures and other stuff. Where there's like this very cute wolf, like white wolf, and basically it's a bunch of like games. It has numbers, and then you win over the other person based on their card.
I've got to look
And
this
then
up.
Okay.
it's a good game. It was
It sounds
actually
very good.
You should all buy it.
Will do. Well, thank you very much for that great plug for a game that none of us have heard of.
What do you mean? We're sponsored by it.
Oh, fuck. You know what?
yes,
I'm
of
looking at my
course.
notes here. Yeah, no. Thanks to the Patreon, but more importantly, thanks to the Fox in the Forest for sponsoring this episode. Anywho,
Not actually sponsored.
not actually sponsored. They are not associated with us anyway. If they're actually bad, don't let us know. We do not care. We do
Can
care.
I add one more thing?
Absolutely.
Because I want to see if I can guess what the next plot hook is going to be.
we're doing one of these on air
genuinely-
now. This is exciting.
Is this a new
Oh.
game where Sam guesses it and Luke loses because Sam guesses it?
Because I just had a moment in my head like, what if I just said this out loud to these guys while recording, and then I imagined Luke's face if I did get it right, and I'm like, ooh, maybe.
You probably
Oh.
would start sweating.
And forcing him to have to edit
He'd be like,
that.
Sam, stop.
Oh, he'll have to listen to it over and over again. Anyways, what's your prediction? Let's hear it. I'm now very invested.
So at the very beginning with the orbs and everything, there was a whole discussion, and this kind of goes back to my thought of the two planes kind of merging again, because I feel like we wouldn't be shown the other place if there wasn't the potential, at least, of it somehow merging at one point. And my thought process is the orbs are the key, because when
Ooh.
we first got the orbs and everything, and like we were talking about it, and it was like, if the orbs all come together, something will happen. And I think it was, if I remember correctly, it was like along the lines of like some kind of destruction. But what if that was like a mistranslation of some sort, and what it actually meant was the destruction of one plane as 2 planes converge back to one.
I fucking love that. Or even with the hatch, if you open it, and that could almost be a passageway from one to the other.
Oh, that'd be cool too. I like
Ooh,
that.
like Korra.
Yes, very much like Korra. God,
Yeah.
Sam, I fucking love that theory. I hope that you're at least close to right. Regardless, I thank you all for joining us. But unfortunately, I must leave my 3 lovely Pebble guests because I have to
Whiz.
go slide into the DMs with Luke. So I will bid you all adieu, and I will be back after a very short break.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Au
Thank you for
revoir.
listening.
Welcome back to another installment of Sliding into the DMs. I'm your host, Nathan, and this is Luke, who decided
Hi.
to put me in a pebble, and that's why I may sound a bit different this episode.
But they had such a strong reaction to it, right?
Ben saying, oh, well, all right.
Oh,
to
well, all right.
Hearing that, like, listen, I know that Canon Nathan is beloved by the audience and myself, but the characters obviously don't need to share the feelings that they have
I guess
for our
not.
beautiful boy.
Yeah, I know that the cast members themselves really like you, Nathan, but I guess the students don't like Canon Nathan that much. Even though it's Canon Nathan was their hookup for gunpowder, fucking sucks for them now, eh?
Yeah, right? Like, you would think that this would be a bigger wrench in their plans if they're like, oh, we have to get gunpowder for Loud, and now we don't have our hookup. Also, we might be on a different plane of existence. Who's to say? Or we might be in the
Who's
far-flung
to
future.
say?
Or in the past.
Yeah.
Who could say?
Somewhere.
You know
Exactly
what?
where they are supposed to be, some might say.
Oh, so they are back in the prime material plane after everything got shifted with the what's the word? It's not approximate. It's
Potentiality.
it's an A word.
Auxiliary.
Auxiliary plane. Yes.
Or peripheral demi-plane. What's the word they use in actual D&D?
So it depends on what we're referring to. Like, I think a demi-plane is one that is hardly, like, is very sparse and is almost like, think of it as like a big white empty room that just goes on forever. Like to me, that is what I've always thought of as a demi-plane. But there are also smaller planes, such as the Domains of Dread.
Yeah. Anytime I think of planes,
like,
anytime I think of a plane, my brain immediately just goes Domain of Dread. Like, it's so
love
difficult for me to
Dread.
just not pop that into as a name for something, and I'm like, that's an actual thing. I need to chill out.
Anywho, back to the actual show. Excuse me. Yeah, you would think that they would be like a little bit more torn up over losing Canon Nathan, who has been like so useful, but alas,
overshadowed a bit, I think, by the what's his name? Artis. That's his name. Yeah.
The dead guy, yes. The one dead wife guy, yes.
Yeah, dead wife guy.
Dead wife guy, yeah. And does that mean that he is a wife guy who's dead? Or does that mean that it's a dead wife and that's like modifying guy? Who's to say?
Yeah.
Oh, man, we are on a roll here. Anywho, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what we saw in 124, which is like something that every DM can relate to, which is a puzzle just existing and coming into contact with players.
Yes.
Yeah,
that puzzle.
You want to talk about that?
I would. I think it's actually a really interesting. I think dissecting or doing an autopsy on things that have failed is a very valuable thing in most aspects of your life. Just any kind of reflection. I often do it when arcs end just on my own and kind of sit and stew on how I feel things went, which is most often when I see the whole of something is when I can like come to terms with it and how it went, right?
You also have a much better grasp of the events as they happened and like the vibe of the table because you also edit. And so you have to listen to the episode like what, 3 times before it actually releases? 4 times?
Yes. That the goal is 3 times. Sometimes it's more if there's problems. Yeah. But yeah, with something like this, with the puzzle in episode 124, it is I would say a bit of the intent behind it was to be similar to the arc, kind of transitory, a bit of a crossroads between things, right? Like this is very much like just the walkway between trading places and what's coming next, which is in fact Autumn's End. We were kind of fooling around with it last time, or like a couple episodes ago, and be like, yeah, it's totally Autumn's End.
Definitely
next.
Nice. Yep.
Yeah. But genuinely, that is what's coming next. This was me just kind of moving a couple of necessary chess pieces to do some fun stuff that I wanted to do. And so part of that kind of transitory nature of the arc is this one puzzle, which I think if you're just listening to it, it might seem as a very plain, boring, bad puzzle. And that is very much like the way it came across. And that's likely a failing on the way that I refereed exploration of it or narrated exploration of it, right? Like I could have easily cut around, as is the DM's or the GM's like power, just cut around and shown, for example, Sereneth goes off to find essentially a way to turn the water falling off, right? By unturning that bucket. So realistically, if there was just the single solution to get out of this puzzle, or I wanted to let the students and the players solve this very quickly and go on just the one single path that I had predetermined, if that was the case, I could have just followed Sereneth.
Yeah.
And I think what indicates that that wasn't the intent of the puzzle, and that there was multiple other ways I was envisioning it could be solved or progressed from, right? And how it is a crossroads, is the fact that I kept going back to the other 3 and asking them, is there anything you're doing? Just as like an emergency in case in the couple of minutes that I was like narrating Sereneth's actions and she was figuring out what to do and Sam was figuring out what to do, that they came up with a clever solution down below. And that's not the way it turned out, but they did gather some information and they did progress on from there. And so in terms of like a building of the local environment, it was not a failure. Right,
not at all.
We've further built upon the aspect that this area underneath the campus is filled with fucking dumb mystery puzzles for absolutely no reason. There are passageways interconnecting of different, like these different mysteries almost overlapping, if that makes sense. Like this was a weird thing that was connected to a Shioran puzzle that's connected to the Pebble thing that's connected to,
There are just layers. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think there was success in that. And then we moved on to like something that was a genuinely interesting little area. So
Yeah, and what is like when designing a puzzle though, quite often we see in Dungeons and Dragons or in any like in any real game that you play. Like I'm thinking like anything that lets you explore a dungeon like Skyrim,
Yep.
a puzzle is almost always just to prevent you like or to make you tread carefully when you are just transitioning from one room to another. It is
yes.
like, you know, everyone knows about a puzzle trapped door.
Yeah.
So I want to talk to you a little bit about crafting a puzzle of like crossroads,
Mm-hmm.
where this is not a door that you're walking through. It is a bunch of different paths
Mm-hmm.
that like branch out from each other. I didn't know if you had anything you wanted to say on that and what went into thinking of all of the different possible solutions. Like, do you
Yeah.
have a ton in mind, or are you just waiting to be a surprise?
This is very often the way that I go into, I think my most common form of puzzle. I don't know if that is true. I can think of at least one other time that I've had a puzzle rooted in like how to navigate a larger area, if that makes sense. So this was almost like a crossroads upon which they could unknowingly choose what path they were going to take into the rest of the arc, right? Into the essentially the end of this arc, right? Like because they were never going to figure out every single solution to that puzzle and go into every possible location that they could have gone into from there, of which there was more than one. And so, for example, we went into like that mountain shrine room, but below them there was like that grate, as we kept calling it, a colander, because that was a helpful word to describe what it was. Yeah.
I mean, accurate.
But there was like a giant pile of stones down there. There was likely a way that they could have figured out a solution to get down there, but that's not the way it went, etc. And so like a crossroads kind of puzzle like that is just about, and I think this is telling of like the failing here, is being able to point them in or show the players or somehow signpost to the players, there are a couple of different ways you can go about this. And that didn't happen here, right? It was just an absence of information here, which is
not
why
to mention another thing that is helpful for players is giving them like a small idea of what's behind like each path that they can choose. So it's like, yeah, hey, like if you guys really want to go down door number 3, like then you'll have to solve the puzzle in a particular way to go down door number 3. And that's going to be a different situation if door 3 has like, you can hear the sound of like, you know, gold falling from the ceiling, or you like see a bright shining light from underneath the door.
Yeah, it's as simple as just saying there are 3 doors in the wall. One of them is marked with a goat, one of them is marked with a dragon, one of them is marked with a treasure chest, right? And which one do you want to try to open? That's as simple as this kind of crossroads concept could be. An arc that I can point to where it happened better, I think. With time, I actually can't recall. I know I was a bit sour on how they turned out at the time, but I think they've aged moderately well. But from the very early days of the podcast, Bookworms, the second arc, had 2 of these kinds of transitory puzzles in them that were, I think, better executed, is just a good way to say it, than this. There was like a weird stairwell crank puzzle that you could make the stairwell go up and you can make the stairwell go down, which we never
And that's
got
also where we got the it does not budge.
It does not
like
budge.
Them greasing up the key, which is also like, you know, iconic. So like, I don't know. I don't think that this was, as a listener, I don't think it was a failure in terms of like being a boring listening experience. But I can understand as a DM how you might hear this and be like, well, shit, like that was not a fun time.
Yeah, it was dry is my biggest complaint. And that it could have been run better, but you can say that for most things. So
listen, real talk, after that episode drops, restricted section is going to just be talking about Wildcliff cheerleading.
It is. See, the joy in this is that I had a dry puzzle and my players trust me and they were having fun amongst themselves.
They had lots of fun interactions. Yes.
Exactly.
It's always nice to...
Yeah.
Listen, sometimes you give them a quiet moment to talk about trauma, and sometimes you give them like a shared dumb puzzle to work around.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, the next one's going to be better, is all I can say. I have learned quite a deal from this, and I hope that the next one's good.
Speaking of the next one, let's talk about the
Yeah.
next episode. 125.
Good one, in my opinion.
Very good one. First of all, like, how dare you? Not for the reason the listeners are thinking, but
Yeah.
because only a few episodes I was talking shit about how we never have combat on
know.
this show.
I
And then
know.
you're like, hey, let me do combat like back to back to back to back here. Like we had
Yeah.
the Grung fight, then the Ferdinand fight, I guess. That you rolled
Chase
initiative,
thing.
which makes it a
Yeah,
fight.
yeah.
And then this. You've really fucked me.
Yeah,
like-
it's really common all of a sudden. We're a combat-heavy podcast now.
My influence.
You do have an influence. Sarah in private the other day mentioned that Nathan likely had an influence on the amount of fights or just the styling of the fights recently. And I do think that is a genuine thing. I do think that I am only as good as the things that are currently influencing me. And since Nathan, I am a player in your game since you run combats very frequently and run them very well, I have no, like, my subconscious is just like, we're going to have fights now, right? It's just a matter of the way things go.
Combat is fun. D&D
it's
and
very
combat,
fun.
it rules. It's so much
They
fun.
go good.
It's so fun. I
yeah.
love violence.
Now, as much as I do love a like slow burn, as a lot of people can fucking tell if you've listened to the
Fuck
show.
off. Bad pun.
I do. There is also a part of me that the Pebble Demon falls into like the same bin of villains as does the Prickled Pest Who Pursues.
Oh, you mean being way over their like pay grade for them to fight?
Yeah.
You mean throwing out a fucking 7th level spell against these children?
Yeah.
No, my first question was, quite honestly, hey, when like designing an encounter like this, which do you prioritize more? Like prioritizing this to make sure it is a fight that might be deadly is also still winnable?
Yeah.
Or is it more just all focused on, I need to demonstrate how big of a threat this demon is?
Interesting.
Like, because thinking about, on the page, and this speaks to like the power of, dice and player action. But if you just set, like the stat block of this Pebble Demon versus the 4 students who are like not arrested, who are like a little bit tapped at the moment, like, on paper, you put those two fighting each other and the Pebble Demon is going to win. Like every time.
Yeah.
Every time. So did that worry you when they were like just talking shit to this thing that was way out of their league?
No, I was very much prepared for them to pick a fight. I knew that it was a very likely possibility. I also, because just due to the circumstances of them having dealt with a bunch of shit up to that point, as I think all the players did an amazing job of like voicing like the frustrations that their characters would be experiencing. The fact that this thing had taken like their mentor, right, and put them in a pebble, and there was that wonderful like little revelation.
Listen,
of, like, all these
Artist
pebbles
is
are
better off
people.
in a fucking pebble. At least there he can't be thinking about his dead wife, right?
It's true. How bad his life sucks. His friends are all dead. Yeah.
Hey, bye-bye Daft.
But it definitely comes into account. I always do a quick, like, as bad of an indicator of how dangerous a fight is, CR, if you've run the game for a long time, you can use it as a soft kind of ball mark, almost like cat whiskers of like, how tough is this going to be, if that makes sense? And so that's more of what I use it for. I don't think CR challenge rating on monsters is a very useful thing. And just for the audience's sake and for your sake, Nathan, this monster, this Pebble Demon, was using the base stats of the Devourer, which is a demon from Volo's Guide to Monsters.
Rules.
A favorite of mine. I used it actually in the past against these players. I actually used it in a one-shot called Bardsville Academy of Adventurers, where the school was overrun by Devourers. And in that, they were level 5, and I had to use multiple of these monsters in order to even stand a fight, because I was just not good at combat. And not using them. Yeah, and not using the monster to its full capabilities, I think. And so this time, fighting a bit more beefed up version because it has this level 7 spell, which the Devourer does not normally have, but I did enjoy like reflavoring it in this way.
I love the fire, like, Devourer.
Yes.
It rules. Like, I just love, I wish the Pebble Demon had a better name. That way I could feel
Same.
better about saying how much I love the Pebble Demon.
Yeah.
But now I've kind of grown to love it.
I do enjoy coming up with demon names. There was the one from Weenie Hall 2020, which was bathes in the something. It was like, it's just a long convoluted name.
Fan.
It's good stuff. They're just really fun to make names like that. And so this one could have had a fun name like that, but the Pebble plot never got investigated. It never got delved into until this could have been the final confrontation of a larger arc, but it wasn't. It was this like kind of off thing. And it's fun like that.
I wanted to actually ask you about that as well, which is like, you allow the world to move even without the players interacting with it.
Yeah.
Like, how do you kind of litigate the path that the rest of the world moves on when the players are not interacting with it? Is there any dice rolling on your end where you just like, I know like this event happens, but I don't know if I have a preferred way of this playing out. Let me roll some like D20s, or like, do you do full on simulations of, all right, let me play act this exactly in my head of like how this happens? Do you plot it out by the point, or is it just, broad strokes?
It to a point is broad strokes, but there are also sections. I don't want to just be general, but there are also sections where I do need to know the specific details of what went down, right? And so in those moments, I always find it very fun to let the players roll. Anytime I've ever let them roll D100 on the show, which happened in the middle of Trading Places, if you recall, the only thing that was a mystery to me was, is Artis going to make it out of this situation? And if he's not, is someone else going to be there? And if someone else is going to be there, who is it, right? And so that's essentially what they were rolling for back in Trading Places when we had that little not flashback, I don't think, like side
It's like
flash,
a flash sideways. Yeah. If we're using the Lost terminology.
Oh,
Did you ever watch that show?
I did, yes.
I fucking loved it.
I never finished it.
Yeah, it was bad. I loved it, but it was not a good show.
Anyways,
but yeah,
so
you flash sideways, someone rolled a 43.
Yeah, they rolled really, really freaking high, which is, they didn't roll as high as they could have, but they rolled pretty high, which meant that Altine was trailing Artis, etc. And that was like the strokes of the situation. Artis wasn't going to be successful in this moment, right?
Yeah.
That was, I don't think Artis, even if I was to like go, as you suggested, like blow by blow and actually just simulate it myself, Artis could not have, like a single person could not have taken on that, the Pebble Demon, right? Like it was a quite strong creature, especially one-on-one, right?
And especially for Artis, who is like level 1, like just an absolute
7 hit points,
goon.
absolute.
In the new Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft, they actually introduced this new thing for players called like, if you want to do like a short adventure, like that's more about just surviving rather than like really winning, you can play these things called survivors that are just level 0 characters. And that's what Artis is. Artis, it like has no spell slots and has 1 cantrip, and that's it. Anyways, fuck
stuff.
Artis. He's better in a Pebble. He's probably more useful this way. You can't lose him as easily.
I'm so interested to see what they're going to do. Like, I have no fucking clue what they're going to do. Right. We had a long... As soon as the recording ended, the players were like, Luke, what the fuck, right? Like, you can hear them almost at the... or at least in the raw. I don't know if it'll make it into the final episode, but Sam's just like, what are you, we're just gonna end it there? What the fuck, right?
Because not only did you like end it with, hey, your mentor, who everyone has been worried about for the past like 2 months, is now a Pebble, and like nobody, none. Hey, guess what?
Burnt up.
Nobody anymore.
But
they have plenty of options, especially now that they're back home in familiar ground. That's gonna be fine.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun.
Which, my last thing here, which is this I don't know how to refer to this new world they're living in, because I don't know if it's like a parallel universe, if it's a weird time skip, or what. What would be a good way for me to frame it as an interviewer talking with you?
You could frame it as... I want to think about this for a moment, because I don't want to show my hand.
This is a trick to make you show your hand. That was the whole reason behind it. However, I would also enjoy actually hearing your real answer.
Yeah. I think that a good way you could frame it would be to say a conjoined timeline.
Oh, that's... You may have tipped your hand a bit too much.
Yeah.
We may want to go back and change this just because, like, I think I've picked up what it is. Obviously, I have no real clue. But, like, it feels like, things diverged and now they finally converged again. And that's what we're seeing here. That's what I got from the conjoined timeline thing. But I may be totally wrong.
Okay. Interesting. The players seem to be under the impression of an alternate timeline. Sarah's been throwing around a lot, I think, the wording of, we're in the timeline where X didn't happen now. And I keep just saying to her, it's interesting that you think this is the one where X didn't happen. And so the fact that I've used the word conjoined and I'm routinely telling my players that specifically, I don't think I've tipped my hand as much as you might think I have.
Yeah, you obviously are going to... Listen, at the end of the day, you're the only one with cards at the table.
Correct. Yeah.
It doesn't matter what you tip your hand. You, at the end of the day, you do have the whole deck just right there by you.
I don't really mind if the players guess what's going on either. It would be fun to like get that shock from them, as we've discussed in previous episodes. I do love that. But if they have an inkling of what's coming, that could be also fun. And it could lead them, as we were talking about with puzzles, to knowing the different paths they could take, right? That information that they have could be useful.
I don't know how permanent this visit into a conjoined timeline would be.
Yeah.
But it's a big fucking swing as a storyteller to do an alternate, any sort of shit where like it is a familiar world with like unfamiliar architecture. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, because you can just go for this, because there's like I'm going to say this right now, and if this isn't the case in future episodes, call me on my bullshit, okay?
Bet.
But, like, you can just do the lazy thing of saying, oh, XYZ is a bit different now, right? Like, it seems off, right? Like, I didn't say, something seems off about campus. You specifically was saying there's not a tower that you're used to seeing there. The
building material is different.
There are wooden buildings on campus. These kind of things right? But you still see things that are familiar, right? These are all breadcrumbs to lead them to something, to lead them to like the information that they need to make decisions. I agree with you that I'm getting my ideas twisted. And so there's the really, I think, lazy way of going about something like this, anytime you deal with timelines and stuff, which is just to say, oh, XYZ is different, or like stuff like that.
Right, because like the DM or the narrator or whoever, the GM is like, that less is more approach does seem like a little bit more intuitive when you first think about it, because you think, well, I've already built this world, and if we're doing a slightly different one, then I don't want to have to go into all of the specific ways that it's different, number one. And number two, it's also a little bit more fun to leave it to a player's imagination. It's a little bit more spooky to like have it be, oh, everything is just like an inch to the left of what you remember, or not even that much, because that would actually be more information than what you're given. But like just, oh, it's different, it's off, is enough to like let the player's mind fill in the gaps.
Yeah.
What you're missing there, though, is that, as you have said, the indicators that the narrator or the DM or the storyteller does just give you can be clues into like the wider idea of what's going on, which I think that you've done really well here.
Yeah. Because the only information the players and their characters will have about this world, about what's going on, are coming from questions they ask me or information that I just provide to them that their characters see. So them noticing these things, that's not in this case, a perception check or an investigation. That would just be, we've lived here on this campus for almost a year now. It's very obvious that a couple of things are misplaced.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's the approach that we're going to be taking. And I hope that it doesn't come across as just me being like, it's Wildcliff, but weird. I hope it very much more comes across as deliberate in the ways that I'm showing.
It feels like a different Wildcliff, not in the sense of like, oh, someone made a bad carbon copy and like there are distortions in like where they had like done the different version.
Yeah.
It feels as if there was either an event or a process that occurred that has caused a wide scale change, but like those changes can be traced back to origins, if that makes any sense.
Yep. I get what you're saying. My only fault thus far is that I didn't get to seed this idea a little bit more.
It did come out of nowhere.
Yeah, it came to me late in Trading Places, unfortunately. I would have preferred to have started seeding it before Trading Places. And to be quite frankly with you, I could have been seeding it for a very long time now, which does disappoint me because I think that typically my foreshadowing and forward thinking, at the very least, is pretty on point.
Oh, it's one of your biggest strengths.
Yeah.
Like, very few other DMs really handle prophecy in a way that I enjoy. And I think that you do a great job with it.
I appreciate that. Yeah. So that's like, so far, we're not even into the arc, and I'm already telling you, like, I'm unhappy with this part of it. Like, I just wish it didn't come out of nowhere.
Shit.
Yeah. I wish it didn't come out of nowhere is my only thing about it. I'm happy with how it's gone so far, and I'm happy with the minor crumbs I've given them. They seem to be on the right track so far, and that's exciting.
It's interesting, though, that you say that you haven't done as much seeding because, like, as someone who doesn't have your, broader context where, like, I only see what you have allowed us to see, my immediate thought when we saw it was like, oh, this has something to do with the auxiliary plane and the material plane being out of whack, and something has occurred off screen to make them go back in sync.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
And so, like, I thought that's what it was. I was, like, thinking about, the convergence of all potentialities, the thing with the hooks.
Yes.
Like, I was like, this is what that is.
Well, I'm glad it's evoking that.
You may have seeded that well because, like, whenever you think of weird plane shit, that's the only thing that really comes to mind. So it may be seeded in the way of, just association.
Okay. I'm happy enough with that, then. You've quelled some of my less than stellar thoughts. And
that's what this show is for.
Yeah,
like,
it's
really?
just to butter me up.
Yeah. Anyways, that's why on the next episode we are going to be talking about Scandal. No, I'm fucking with you. We're never talking about Scandal.
You can talk about it.
I'm good. Like, listen, I think that like, as someone who has my own problems with, like, my own creative work and, like, not wanting to discuss it, I would never make someone discuss their shit, like, without it being a big thing,
Oh, okay. I think we can talk about it very quickly right now. I think Scandal ties into what we were talking about earlier with intent. The intent behind my puzzle was to present a crossroads in the same way that the arc is almost a transitory thing. The intent with Scandal was to create a light, bubbly, magical atmosphere where the players could take on different personas than their own, which were pseudo similar to their classmates in an attempt to, like, I don't know,
facilitate empathy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so that didn't happen. It was just more joking around and stuff than I was hoping for. But that's okay, because Scandal's okay. It's just not what I wanted, and that's fine. Yeah. So
I think, like, when you create things, I think living to learn with that is so fucking frustrating. It is.
Yeah.
Like, I can't believe this is only okay.
Yeah.
But no, I
feel
think
that way.
I totally get that.
I don't feel that way about episode 125 though, because I'm so happy with that fight.
That fight whipped.
It was like a perfect combination of when narrative and gameplay come together, of like the students being so fucking tired of it, so they just kind of like, that's the strongest start to a fight they've ever had, and then single turn changed that.
It feels, it's so interesting to have this in contrast with what has just happened at the end of Trading Places.
Yes.
Where not only are they tired, they just came from a place where, like, violence could have been a good solution there, and they just weren't allowed to.
Yep.
And so now we're able to see, yes, violence, you know what? Shit. Some problems it solves really fucking well. And so, like, with the characters, we get to see them letting off some steam on this Pebble Demon. And they also, we get to see them be very strong. Like, they do really well there in the very beginning. It
was awesome. I think that's genuinely the strongest they've ever seemed. Like, they are by no means heroes in a classical definition, but if I was to point at a single fight that was like they were the closest to being heroic in such a subtle way, I don't think I would point at the Nesca fight, because that was a necessity kind of thing. Like, this one where it was...
The Nesca fight... The Nesca fight almost felt like a horror movie, like, or a Home Alone type team up, where, like, the main thing is really just the preparation that goes into it, while this felt more like a back alley brawl where they ran into someone who they have beef with, and it was like all right, fuck it. No, we're throwing down now.
Another thing that adds to that, Nathan, at least in my imagination, I don't know how strong this is for people who aren't narrating or playing it, is like the mental, like the visualization of the fight. Because to me, it's happening in this tiny little cramped room, and it's not this grand arena like we fought Nesca and Korka and the Obelix, and every other fight ever has happened in this big arena. This was just in this tiny little shitty hallway that had buckets and pebbles lining the walls, and they just like almost died and kicked this demon's ass, and it was
this
awesome.
Is y'all's Daredevil hallway fight. But yeah, no, I loved it. It didn't remind me of like a Marvel superhero fight. No. It did remind me of a Letterkenny fight.
I'll take that.
Which is just like the real animosity here is like truly coming from within the characters. It is not them being mad at like it's them being mad at their whole situation, not just this one dude. Yeah, which I think really comes through here. I don't know. I adore combat, and so I'm very biased, but I love this fight. It was so much fun. And throwing a nuke there in this tiny little hallway as well.
Very good.
Fucking bonkers.
Thank goodness for integrity. And
that could have been a TPK.
It genuinely could have. I was prepared for it, quite honestly.
What would you have done? Or is that still like a secret that you're hiding?
I still have lasting plans from Faint of Heart that I set forward if there's ever a TPK.
That's great.
One of them, for integrity at the very least, at that moment, was the progenitor was going to offer her the deal, right? If she died during that fight, the progenitor was going to be like, all right, let's go. I'll take care of this as long as you, like, essentially sign over everything, right?
A dark bargain, you could say.
A dark bargain. And so that's different now for integrity at the very least. Still very much linked to being a warlock, though. But the others, I definitely have plans for what to do with them if they die. Death is not the end for these characters. Death is not the end in this show, I don't think.
I do love that because, like, with other shows, death is either not a possibility, like the DM like will just not kill a character. Even if they have the opportunity, it would either be a pre-agreed upon thing where like it's almost scripted out.
Yes.
Or they are not going to hit you while you're down. Yeah. Or with other ones, it's like, you could lose your character at any time. Death is permanent. Like, I'm thinking of, like, Critical Role, which makes Resurrection even harder than it needs to be.
Yes.
In my opinion, like, in a fun way. But still, like, even, having a high level cleric doesn't mean that you're going to come back. So it's nice knowing that death is a possibility, but not the end for these folks.
Yeah, because I think that's the most fun way to play with the boundaries everyone wants to play, right? We all have these goalposts, and I think there's a very common goalpost of or at the very least a very strong attachment to these characters, which shouldn't just be the barrier to killing them, right? Just because you're attached to a character doesn't mean that they cannot die. At Artist Artesian. And
I'm fucking coming for you, artists. if they unpebble Canon Nathan first, if they're like, we gotta get our priorities right, we gotta get our our gunpowder, first before we can get artists back. Like, we love artists, but he cannot help us right now. In fact, he would be on our ass for meeting with Loud. Yep. If they bring back Canon Nathan first, I will just DM you and be like, hey, Canon Nathan's only desire right now is to ice artists. He wants to fucking destroy that pebble.
But with the players, I think that if I just started both with the setting, it would be very difficult to like fiat a new player character in, right?
Crow comes in. This is my niece who will be joining you in this next year.
Yeah. It would be very hard to fiat a character in, which I try to avoid a DM fiat as much as possible. And also, I just think that would be way less fun for all players if their character died. And that's not to say that that's a universal truth. I've played in campaigns where a character dying is absolutely on the table, and it's happened to me because I'm a reckless monster with my characters, and
You're
great
currently
fun.
Playing in a campaign where like your character, like permadeath, is certainly an option.
Yes, and I'm completely prepared for that. But I also think that the stakes we've set so far are more fun with the fact that everyone has a lot of contingencies on their death. Or most people have contingencies on their death. So death's absolutely not the end, right? Because, oh my gosh, you're not done. The world's not done with you.
We've got, Mira with the Shioran bullshit or Nesca bullshit. Flip a coin on who gets Mira. Winsler Celty is an issue there. We got
Yes.
integrity with the
Oh,
progenitor.
we were so close to that, Nathan, with Winsler. Oh
I'm
my
so
God,
hyped for
would
it.
have been glorious.
And then there's Sereneth with the plant on her head, which is still an issue that is going to keep her from dying.
Can't kill
I
that
assume.
plant. I refuse to
No.
kill plants.
Exactly. Like,
That's just plot armor. Sereneth
does she
is.
still have a plant on her head?
She does still have that plant on her head, growing by
How
the
long
moment.
is it? It's like 2 feet long now.
Yeah, it's probably like 2.5 feet long, growing by the moment.
That's weird to think
Absolutely
about.
good stuff. Yeah. You remember that time at the start of the podcast where I always commented on how giant of a person Sereneth was, and then everyone went, "She's not that tall," so I decided to make her even taller. No,
Wait,
that's
does
not-
the plant stick all the way up or does it flop down?
Well, it's like a couple, like at this point, because it's so big and large, it is a bit floppy. Yes.
Oh, cut all of
stuff.
that. This is all unrelated. We've gone over time. We've just been bullshitting for the last
It's fun.
10 minutes.
It's just fun to talk about the show.
It is fun. I like the show a lot. Thank you for the job.
Oh, I thank you. Thanks for doing a great job.
Of course. This was, yeah. Well, I was a bit too tender for this program. I like to have a good little nice sheen of irony on this fucking show to keep us
shield.
all safe. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's way easier to have an after talk podcast when you just make fun of it the whole time.
Yeah. No cushiness.
No cushiness. Anywho, I would like to thank all of our listeners for joining us. And Luke, if you could go ahead and do our outro since this is an odd numbered episode.
Oh, well, thank you everyone for listening this week. I had a wonderful time talking about a couple of really good episodes that ended a very sillily named arc. If you also enjoyed this, please leave a rating and review on our Apple podcast page or on your podcatcher of choice. Those help other people find the show and just generally increase the visibility of the show on the internet, right? And also we really like reading those reviews. It makes us feel pretty good. Second, if you want to follow us on social media, you can do so at Trials and Trebs on Instagram and Twitter. We post teasers there. We post art, either commissions or things that the cast have made. If you make art, please tag us in it on those social medias so that we can look at it. We can retweet it if it's on Twitter or post it on our story if it's on Instagram or other such things that you can do on social medias. I'm not 40. And
you do sound like someone who often uses social medias. Those things that everyone calls them, social medias.
Yeah. Going on further, some might say, you can find a link to our Discord server, which is a more hip, I'm told, platform to communicate with your peers. You can find that in the description of all of our episodes, or at least the recent ones. You can find it in the description of this episode, at the very least. Over there's a lot of discussion about the show, a lot of discussion about stuff that's not related to the show too, so it's not just join to only talk about this.
And if you want to send in theories for tinfoilery, I'm over there on the Discord server, so you can just shoot those over to me in a DM and not share them with the rest of the server. That way I can keep it a secret from the cast.
Yeah, and I think finally we have the patrons to thank for this show in its entirety. Conversations Catapults is one of our original big stretch goals that we surpassed. And if you want to contribute to helping the show in the background stay running by feeding the members of the cast or paying their bills or paying for hosting fees and stuff like that, then contributing to the Patreon at patreon.com/trialsandtrebs is the way to do that. And so, yeah, if you have the means to do so, supporting us over there is always appreciated. And I think that's it for our little housekeeping here, Nathan.
Well, excellent. Well, thank you all for joining me and signing off.
Yeah.
Still from within a pebble. It's me. It's Canon Nathan. Let me do the Blam voice, but stuck in a pebble.
Whoa! Oh, God! I'm stuck in a pebble! Whoa! Blam!
I can't move my mouth in the same way, so the Blam voice is different. It makes me sound a little bit younger. Thank you all for joining us. Fuck this show. I'm in a pebble.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. That was an awful sign off.